Hey, what's up everybody? This is Kincade from Push, and today I'm going to teach you how to do a frontside board slide on your snowboard. I like to think of the front board as the method of rail tricks. If you don't know what a method is, it's one of the most stylish grabs you can do off a jump on a snowboard, and it's essential to have a proper method in your bag of tricks the same way you need to have the frontside board slide down. So before you learn the frontside board slide, you'll definitely want to know how to 50-50 a box or a rail from the front side. Knowing how to hit urban on rails is not necessarily required, but it's highly recommended. Urban on means that you have to jump onto the rail as opposed to being able to ride straight onto it, so it's a little bit elevated above the lip of the takeoff. Like I said, this is not necessarily required, but the frontside board slide is a somewhat technical trick that you do need to be really comfortable on rails to learn, so I think knowing how to get onto an urban on feature will help this a lot. And most of the rails you're going to want to do frontside board slides on will not be ride-on rails. So really those are the only requirements. Most people tend to learn backside board slides or frontside lip slides before the front board, just because it's a little bit easier to be sliding the rail going forwards instead of with your back facing downhill. But again, with that said, it's not necessarily required. If you're feeling ready to go for the front board, then let's just dive right into it. I truthfully have to relearn this trick at the beginning of every season, not because I don't remember how to do it, but because I'm a little bit scared and I have trouble committing to that first front board at the beginning of the season. So they usually take me a few tries to dial in again, just because this trick does require a lot of commitment, but once you have it in your head that you're going to go for it and you're going to stomp it, your results will be much, much better. So let's go ahead and talk about the technique and how to actually execute this trick. If you're regular, you'll be approaching the rail from the left, and if you're goofy, you'll be approaching the rail from the right. I happen to be goofy, so I come up to the rail on the right side. I come up a little bit on my toes, and as I reach the rail, I pop just a little bit, and then once I'm completely over the rail with my board straight, I then turn my feet 90 degrees. One thing you want to focus on is not turning your entire body. The way a frontside board slide works is you turn your feet 90 degrees, and then you counter that motion with your torso, so that while your feet are sliding backwards down the rail, your head and torso will be turned so that they're still looking downhill. And this is what allows you to also bring the front board back to regular as you get off the rail. I think that's probably one of the most important things to focus on when learning the front board is how your feet are going to be turned completely differently than your torso. I think I actually have the original clip of my first front board attempt, and if I do, I'll throw that up on screen. In my first attempt, and many after that, I would get onto the rail and turn not only my feet, but my entire body. So I would be sliding down the rail backwards, completely blind. And this leaves you no way to pull back to regular because your torso needs to be turned to get that counter motion to bring your feet back to regular. If you're doing it this way, it's blind, it's scary, and the only way to come out is really to switch, which in my opinion doesn't look as good, isn't necessarily proper. Obviously there are times as you get better that you'll want to come out to switch if you want to go into the next feature switch, or if you want to go into a jump line switch or something like that. But in most cases, you're either going to want to bring the front board back to regular to do it proper, or go front blunt 270 where you go front blunt and do continuing 270. So with all of these tips mentioned, one other thing that's really important to focus on front boards is your foot placement. When you're first learning, it's good to put the rail under your front foot, and this is never a bad habit. This clip I've been showing of me on the down rail, I really have the rail directly under my front foot, and this allows you to pull it back to regular more easily than if you're farther over the rail. It's also a little bit safer if you slip off early when you're first learning, as it allows you to get away from the rail a little bit easier as opposed to accidentally falling on it. As you get more comfortable with this trick, it is nice to start putting the rail farther and farther over to where it's right between the bindings and then maybe even over your back foot. It looks really stylish and it's a little bit more difficult. Once you're comfortable with frontside board slides, you can start learning front blunt 2s as well, which is where you put the rail under your back foot and then do a continuing 270. It's really a whole different trick, a much different setup, and I'll have a tutorial for that up on the website soon as well. So I think that pretty much concludes this tutorial for the frontside board slide. It is a tricky one to learn and it takes a while to dial in, so be patient with this one. And like I said, confidence and the ability to commit really goes a long way with learning this trick. Best of luck, and if you have any questions, feel free to make an account on the website and leave me a comment. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'll see you guys soon with another tutorial.